Well, welcome everyone. We're back to the discovery of the human being. Our goal is to help you know more about yourself, your life, your health, your well-being, your relationships, your family, your happiness. And to do that, we're going to use a series of different instruments. Each one of these instruments has a different way of expressing itself. The iris, family tree, birth order. Each one of these instruments that has a vast amount of information connected to it. You could study the iris all of your life and never be done. I've done that. You can study the family tree, your grandparents and their effect upon you. You could study that all your life and you won't be done. You'll always be studying something. So I'm going to suggest a series of simple things that you might consider as self-discovery instruments. And then you can look at them a little bit at a time or go to the RAYID Brazil website and you'll find some different video recordings about these subjects. So let's go into some of the things I would suggest. Probably the most significant thing is to begin to know yourself. Learn about who you are, what you are, how you operate, how you are in the world, and then learn to know more about how to access a deeper experience of your own feelings and who you are. That sounds obvious, but it's not so easy to do sometimes. So we're going to give you a couple of instruments to give you the opportunity for self-discovery. And then we're going to move on to a couple of other instruments of another form of self-discovery. We're going to go through this. We're going to go through the guidelines of cycles and seasons, which is how each one of these relates to a different month of the year. We'll show you how to do that. All of it coming back to a greater degree of personal responsibility for your presence in the world and your influence and everything that's affecting you. So we're going to give you some suggestions. One of those suggestions is to at least have somebody examine your iris and give you some information. Let me show you something here. These are 4 different constitutional types of irises. No matter where you are in the world, what culture, what race, you have one of these 4 types. We all have these 4 types, but we use one of them most dominantly. Now, there are many more than this because the iris is like a fingerprint, but the fingerprint is made up of primarily 3 patterns. The same thing's true in the iris. You have these open webs, you have these little brown spots, and you have these straight lines. You have 3 different parts. In English, they're called ridges, loops, and whorls when it comes to fingerprints. We just give them slightly different names here. The 4th one is just a combination of 2 of these in the same place. This one, the straight lines, also is a constitutional pattern. If you learn these 4 parts, you will increase the sensitivity that you have over your body and your feelings and your life. Now you can identify which one of these you are, and it will help you learn the habits or addictions you might have with this constitution. Now we've done an iris class before. So there's a recording of an iris class that you can go and learn more of this, but I would suggest you learn what your iris type is. And mostly it's just these 2. Now these 2, they correspond to constrictive principles or the inside, and the expansive ones or the outside. So these 2 are outside and inside. By that I mean you're basically controlled by what's inside you, and then you express it into the outside. So you're one of these 2. You either like to express yourself out in the world emotionally and physically, or you have a tendency to go slightly more into your mental realm. You think more, you talk more, you have different needs, different attractions. These two are very different from each other, but nearly all relationships are made up of these opposites. One of you will be more mental, and if you're attracted to someone, they're going to be more emotional. This is how the instruments work, these two opposites. Later on, you discover that this is masculine in its presentation. This is more feminine or yin in its presentation. And the other two are composites to support it. Now, I'm going to say that all four of these are important for your well-being. Now, it's not necessary to learn all the iris patterns, but it is useful to have someone identify what your constitutional pattern is. Now, later on, you find out that these four patterns are also the 4 seasons of the year. These 4 patterns, they come from different parts of your family tree. So yes, these are genetic patterns arriving to you from different parts of your family tree. Let me give you a slightly different perspective again. Here are 12 examples of 12 constitutional patterns. Yes, more than 50% of the world has brown eyes, but these are easier for me to display. And you have all these constitutional patterns inside you. Now that sounds like an unusual thing. All 12 of these are genetically linked to different parts of your family tree. In 3 generations, you have 12 grandparents. Your mother and father's parents and their parents, you have great-grandparents. Those great-grandparents, they also compose these individual parts of you. Most people use 1 or 2 or 3. I'm suggesting to you that in the long run, the opportunity for you to begin to develop all 12 of these, because all 12 of these will relate to different glands, organs, and body systems. So let me show you another way of experiencing this inside yourself. Here you are with the 12 different constitutional types. Now, by the way, these 12 are infinite in variety. They're like fingerprints. No 2 are the same, or snowflakes. They're just all very different, but they have very specific attributes. And later on, we'll describe what this curvature or sequence is all about. Because later on, identifying each one of these grandparents, one at a time, will increase your sensitivity and uncover blockages that might be hindering your life or giving you physical or psychological symptoms. Now, this other pattern down here is your family tree. Now, this line at the bottom, this is what's called a birth order line, and will describe how birth order, your position in gender in the family, occupies a tendency for one of these locations or combinations of it. But all 12 of these different personality types are linked up through genetic lines to somebody in the family tree. So you have 8 great-grandparents and 4 grandparents. All 12 of these are linked to different glands, organs, and body systems inside you. So your attractions or impulses, your desire for something, whether it's healthy or not, is linked to this circuitry. Now, this circuitry is well known in science now. This pattern is also called epigenetics, not just genetics. Epigenetics means above genetics. So the influence from these 12 different grandparents comes down to you, inside you. It's also the chakra system energetically, but it's glands and organs and body systems inside you. So I'm suggesting to you that by increasing your sensitivity to each one of these grandparents, you're going to increase the likelihood of life force flowing through you. And you can also begin to clean out things or not receive things from different parts of your family. For example, if your great-grandfather on your father's side was an alcoholic, for example, that memory or impulse to be an alcoholic comes down through the family tree. It's stronger in one side of the family or the other, a different birth order position, but it travels down. It can have a very strong influence to give you the impulse to drink too much. If you can become aware of it and you become emotionally sensitive to it, you can say no thank you and resolve some of the feelings that are inside you given to you genetically. So I'm saying all of us have maybe 200 different locations where all of this is stored inside of us. By that I mean we have different values, belief systems, and feelings, impulses coming from different parts of the family tree. I'm going to suggest to you that one of the most important things you can do is to appreciate their existence. Yes, gratitude, thank you for being my great-grandfather. I may not have ever known you, but I now find through the family tree that you had an emotional issue. You have compassion for that great-grandfather. Your compassion alone will start to move something inside you, but it also brings awareness to the situation that wasn't there before. You can increase your compassion and your awareness for all 12 members of your family tree. Later on, you'll discover that some of these, they arrive at different stages of your life. Some of them don't arrive until 20 or 30 years later. Some of them don't arrive until you're 50 or 70. So not all of them come immediately. They're stored inside your genetic code. Now, I'm suggesting that if you go into this process of relating to them, you can increase your ability to have sensitivity over your own life, your health, your happiness, your relationships, and you can transmit something healthier to the future. For example, if you make a little bit of a study and you learn the 12 grandparents, you may not know them physically, people may not know who they are, and you don't need to know them socially or physically, but you can learn the attributes that they give to you. Or you can learn the universal quality associated with this position. If you even begin to study that, you're going to change what you give your own children and grandchildren for generations to come. Sounds like a lot, but we already started. We just did. I showed you a picture of your family tree. In this moment, you can look at it intellectually, but you can also have gratitude. Thank you. Thank you for being my family tree. Thank you. Now I want to know what I can do to receive what is healthy and leave behind what's not yours. You are not required to solve the problem of alcoholism for your great-grandfather, but you are required to deal with the influences inside you. No one else can deal with the influences except for you. So part of this process is that we're going to take you through each one of these locations that corresponds to an iris, that corresponds to a family tree, that corresponds to your birth order, that corresponds to glands, organs, all of your body systems are all inside of there. And we're going to take you gradually through the feeling of them. Now, ideally, you would do one at a time for a month. And they'll do the next one and the next and go through a year learning to express your feelings and your gratitude and appreciate how these influences have arrived in your life. Let me show you another way that this is reflected. For a moment, here's the family tree again. Here's the birth order. I'm suggesting that these are the seasons of the year. And each one of these different colors is a different month. And each one of these different colors and months correspond to a different place in your family tree. One by one, we want to go through them. Let me show you another one. Here's one way of feeling it. Maybe one of the easiest ways is to just go through this sequence. Now here's a series of colors, but they also correspond to different seasons of the year. The autumn, the winter, the spring, and the summer. You know how the temperatures and the feelings and the weather is different in all of these months. You've had this sequence many, many times, right? Now this is also, these are different months. So there are 3 months in the autumn season, followed by 3 months in the winter season. Now all 6 of these correspond to a location in your mother's side of the family. Then it leads into more, and these 6 relate to your father's family. These are also your entire family tree, all your glands, organs, body systems, so much exists right here. Now, one of the benefits that we're suggesting is to know yourself a little better. Well, one of the ways to know yourself better is to utilize the experiences of nature to help you build an appreciation inside yourself. For example, this first month of the year, starting in autumn, we start the pattern in autumn. This is the first cycle of entering into this. This corresponds to your mother's mother. It also corresponds to the capacity for you to feel. I won't explain all the reasons why it's there, but the first step of the entire pathway has to do with your own sincere desire to want to feel. Yes, you want to feel, I want to feel happy, successful, healthy, alive, awake, spiritual. This is the primary place that will help you increase it. I'm saying literally, the greater appreciation of the significance of your mother's mother will enable you to be able to increase your capacity to feel. There are skill sets in each one of these, wide variety of skills that you have inside you. The one on this side has to do with empathy or creative imagination, the ability for you to be able to feel yourself or others, and the ability to be able to imagine things with your own mind. This is a significant place. Now, just to help you understand what this is, the pattern here I'm describing with 1 month also exists in the daytime. So this pattern of 1 month happens to be a 2-hour period of the day. Now, this is all the patterns of the day. This is sunset, and this is sunrise. This same cycle of a season that you have over a year, the same cycle happens in a day. So these are all of the 2-hour segments of your mother's family, and these are the 2-hour segments of your father's family. If I scoot over a bit, the red one, by the way, will correspond to sunrise. That's the arrival of heat or fire, or obviously the sun. The colors come back in a different way. This particular point right here also corresponds to your father's side, and that is your father's side of the family. So your ability to do all things in achievement, including health, has to do with how well you utilize your father's side of the family. Wow, that's a big responsibility. Your ability to process food and to clean the body all of your bowels, spleen, heart cleaning, skin, lungs, kidneys. Everything about cleaning the body is over here, but this one also regulates your interior metabolism. This is how well you process feelings. This one becomes an outer display of how well you're doing your feelings. So I'm taking you through each one of these locations one at a time. Now remember, the other chart was the entire family tree, but there are also irises. Yes, each one of these is a different iris type. And you have a tendency to use one or two of these locations the most. I'm suggesting to you that by taking a few minutes just to know yourself in this way can change how you feel. Now I'm going to end it with an explanation of how the first three will help you every single day. Now remember, these three correspond to the autumn and also sunset, going to sleep, and through the night. This is the process of the nighttime, and this is sunrise. So I'm going to show you these three again in a slightly different diagram and show you how to begin the process of using them. Let me show you. Remember, I showed you three colors that corresponded to 3 months or 6 hours from sunset to midnight. These three balls, the blue ball, the pink ball, and the white ball, they correspond to the three grandmothers on your mother's side. So these three different grandmothers, they are responsible for all the cleaning of the body and the processing of all of your feelings. This is a big job. This is your ability to feel. The blue ball is your ability to feel. Now the size and usefulness of this blue ball depends on you. Now the best way to begin the process is at least start to think about your own feelings. And I'm asking you to consider the perspective from which you experience feelings. By that I mean, if something comes to you and creates a moment where you're upset or triggered or sad or angry, where does the feeling come from? It's not from the person that you think hurt you. You are the one having the reaction. Now that may be the single most important thing for you to learn, that 100% of all of the experiences, happy or sad, that come to you are actually focused in one location, inside you. Now that place is you. You are the one responsible for everything that comes to you. I know that's not an easy concept, to be 100% responsible for everything that comes to you. Just consider it. If you change your perspective and you're willing to experience anything that comes to you, sad, painful, beautiful, something in nature, a tree, a cloud, a star, if you're willing to experience them with your own personal desire to feel. Do you want to feel the grass? Yes, you do. The sunrise, the sunset, the stars, the beauty of the world? Yes, this is an instrument. Only you can dilate. Only you can increase this. That's the sincere desire to feel. Now, I would suggest to you that you take it in this sequence. This diagram, by the way, is just to help you get the view of it, but it's really about the orientation straight in front of you. So this pattern, you can see it's connected to and very much in touch with the heart. So your sincere desire to feel, it touches your heart. Now you can dilate that with your own creative imagination and your sincere desire to want to feel. Yes, I mean, it's possible for you to visualize this ball opening. I would suggest for now that you just practice it being fairly focused and small. Later on, we can go into larger parts, but right now, just do the sincere desire to feel. That's the blue ball. The next ball is larger, and it is also a different grandmother. The blue ball is your mother's mother. The pink ball is your mother's mother's mother. That's what we call the number 4. That is the ability to change. Now, your ability to feel is connected to the ability to change. So if you have a sincere desire to feel and to change, you're well on your way. So if you're happy, yes, the sincere desire to feel more of this, that will begin to work. If you're sad, the sincere desire to feel more of this because I want to change it. Let's try that again. Many people will tell you to avoid feeling something. And that's not true. Avoid difficult situations. Yes, don't make it unsafe, but avoid your tendency to want to deny a feeling of pain. So if you have a feeling of pain, bring it to your heart. If you have a sadness, you go, I have the sincere desire to want to feel this feeling. And you can do this little rolling ball. Then you have a sincere desire to want to change this feeling. There are many ways of changing it we can come back to, but the sincere desire to want to grow in feeling, the sincere desire to want to change the feeling can be linked to the third ball, much bigger. You can ask for help. The sincere desire to feel, yes, you can ask for help. You can learn how to receive help. That's the pink ball. So you can say, I'm feeling sad. Show me the truth about this sadness and every sadness I have ever denied. That sounds like a lot, but remember, the way you're going to change the sadness is to receive it and change it. You don't have to blame anyone or attack yourself like we all do at times. Just learn how to be able to, the sincere desire to feel, the sincere desire to change, and the sincere desire to ask for the truth about this feeling. That's pretty simple. Now you can go and practice it. If you practice just these 3 for a month, you'll feel the difference. So that when you find yourself in a situation where you're frustrated or angry, try this. Accept the responsibility that you are the one having the emotion, regardless of what somebody else said or did. Now I want to find what's at the source of my anger, what's behind my anger, because I want to change it. In order to find it, you ask for help. It doesn't mean you're going to get an answer right away, but an answer is on the way. It'll be there soon enough. So this is a starting point of learning to know yourself better. You can start by knowing yourself through the iris. You can start by knowing yourself through the birth order. You can look at your family tree. You can spend time with them. And then we're suggesting cycles and seasons each month of the year. Will guide you through every month of the year and show you how to do it. The journey begins with you. It starts with that blue ball and the sincere desire to want to grow. I know your time is valuable. Thank you for taking the time to learn this as best you can. Good luck to you.